Most people like to believe that monsters are born, that some people enter the world already carrying the seeds of evil. But sometimes monsters are not born. Sometimes they are built quietly, piece by piece, inside the walls of a home no one ever suspected, under the guise of normality. This is the story of Adrian Wells. At 34, he was an accountant with a gentle voice, quiet mannerisms, and no criminal record. To co-workers and neighbors, he was polite, reserved, almost invisible. But behind that calm exterior, Adrian carried a darkness meticulously cultivated over decades, a darkness rooted in trauma and molded by silence. To understand the making of a monster, we must begin at the very beginning. Adrian grew up in a tidy blue house at the end of Dawson Lane. From the outside, it was perfect. Freshly painted shutters, a manicured lawn, and neighbors who waved politely, assuming everything was fine. But inside, the walls whispered a different story. His mother, Marilyn, was a woman obsessed with control, with perfection, with appearances. She ruled the house with strict rules, sharp eyes, and a vocabulary of criticism that never missed its mark. Adrian's father, Gerald, was volatile, charming one moment, explosive the next. He carried his own demons, but Adrian, only 8 years old, was the one who absorbed them all. One night, a dinner table disagreement escalated into violence. Gerald smashed a plate across Marilyn's face. 8-year-old Adrian watched, frozen, as shards scattered across the kitchen floor. Later, Gerald pulled him aside and whispered, in a voice calm enough to terrify, "Real men don't cry. Real men make problems disappear." Those words carved themselves into Adrian's mind. From that night forward, he stopped crying. He learned to mask fear, to contain pain, to hide what he felt from the world. Silence became his refuge. Control became his comfort. And in that control, he felt almost peace. By 12, Adrian had already mastered a terrifying skill: detachment. One afternoon, a boy at school had been teasing him relentlessly. In a moment that seemed instinctual, Adrian pushed him down a flight of stairs. The teachers rushed over, but Adrian's face remained calm, blank, unblinking. The boy's wrist was broken, but Adrian simply stood at the top of the stairs, watching. His mother reassured him later, "You didn't mean it. You're a good boy." And in that simple sentence, Adrian learned another lesson. People believe what they want to believe. If you appear harmless, you can commit acts others would label monstrous and walk away with no suspicion. He learned that control over perception was as powerful as control over action. By 25, Adrian lived alone in a modest apartment. His life was a series of quiet routines: work, home, sleep, repeat. No friends, no romantic attachments, no distractions, just order. But inside him, a hunger grew. A desire for control so precise, so absolute, it demanded expression. That expression came one ordinary evening with Mr. Drexler, his landlord. A simple misunderstanding over rent escalated. Drexler raised his voice and shoved Adrian. A trivial affront. But to Adrian, it was a disruption, a ripple of chaos in a world he wanted perfectly ordered. He reacted like he had learned to, silently, methodically, efficiently. Minutes later, Drexler lay motionless. Adrian cleaned the apartment with meticulous care, leaving no trace. The police never suspected the quiet, polite tenant. For the first time, Adrian felt something intoxicating: power. Not rage, not anger, pure, calculated control. Psychologists would later describe Adrian as a high-functioning psychopath molded by chronic trauma. His emotional center, traumatized by years of unpredictability and violence, had shut down. Empathy, guilt, fear, these were absent. What remained was logic, order, and a chilling sense of relief in the elimination of chaos. Adrian began to see the world differently. Disturbances, small injustices, moments of disorder, they were everywhere. Neighbors who yelled, co-workers who bullied, strangers who shoved the elderly. To Adrian, these were disruptions, and disruptions needed to be corrected. Murder, to Adrian, was not an act of violence. It was a restoration of balance, a reassertion of order in a world he perceived as teetering dangerously out of line. Detective Riley Cortez had seen her share of chaos. Sharp, intuitive, relentless, she noticed patterns others missed. The victims, though unconnected, shared a geography, all within walking distance of one another. Crime scenes were unnervingly clean. Timing was precise. No rage, no struggle, just disappearance of order. She began tracking a pattern. Victims had caused minor disturbances days before their deaths. It was less murder and more judgment. Her search brought her to one quiet man, described by neighbors as harmless, Adrian Wells. An elderly neighbor tipped the investigation over the edge. "He always watches," she said. "He stands very still like he's listening to the walls." Police obtained a warrant. That night, they found Adrian packing a suitcase, calm, composed, methodical. No denial, no resistance, only words that would haunt Riley. "I don't kill people. I fix things." In his closet, taped neatly, was a list. 10 names, 7 crossed out. 3 remaining targets, oblivious to the countdown that had begun in their lives. In court, Adrian displayed no emotion. Experts confirmed what Riley already suspected. This was a monster not born, but constructed, piece by piece, trauma by trauma, silence by silence. The sentence, life without parole. Even in prison, Adrian remained calm. When asked why he never protested, never fought, never cried, he said simply, "Monsters don't cry. My father taught me that." And for the first time in his life, he smiled. A small, cold, terrifying smile. Some killers are driven by rage, jealousy, or opportunity. But Adrian's story reminds us that monsters can be made, not born, molded by fear, silence, and unhealed wounds. On the surface, they are ordinary, invisible, polite. Beneath, they carry a storm, precise, patient, unstoppable, waiting for its next target. If you found this story intriguing, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more deep dives into the darkest corners of the human mind, only here on Inside Killer Psyche.